It seems that more and more young people are becoming less likely to vote for the Liberal Party. According to the Menzies Research Centre, why is this the case? And what sorts of policies do you think will help attract more younger voters?
Great question. Thank you so much for that. Look, it is no secret. Young people, so I'm 20, people our age are more likely to vote for the Greens than they are for the Coalition. I think the reason that is there's a fundamental misunderstanding about the values that the Liberal Party stands for. And if you had to sort of distill them into two, it would be freedom and aspiration. And I think we're in a culture at the moment where both of those things are really challenged. So on the point of freedom, like, we live in this culture of identity politics where people's whole sense of self comes from things like their gender, their race, arbitrary factors that shouldn't actually impact somebody's value as a human being. But when you're sort of subjected to that sort of culture, it kills aspiration, because you feel like, you're always going to have that identity, you can't do anything about it. And so I think at a level of values, we are struggling. Young people don't understand that we are free, we can aspire to be agents in our own lives and improve our own lives. And then I think they're not seeing those values reflected in policy. So the key issues facing young people are climate change, housing and mental health. Climate change, like, why are we not considering nuclear energy as another option? We can all agree what we want to do is want to get to net zero as quickly as possible and as cheaply as possible while keeping the lights on. We should be thinking about everything. Young people want innovation. We're open to new technologies. So we need to be thinking about everything, and especially nuclear energy. Housing, get government out of the way. So a significant proportion of the cost of a new apartment is actually government regulation. And mental health, we need to be teaching kids in schools how they can become resilient and self-reliant as they move into adult life. Otherwise, we will see the status quo continuing, where suicide is the leading cause of death for young people. And for me, that is just not an outcome I'm willing to accept.
Darcy, why do you think young people have moved away from the Liberal Party?
It's a very good question, and I thank you for your question. It's always up for topic. Everyone wants to argue politics, and I think overall it's just, for me as a young Aboriginal man, I won't say who I vote for, etc. I think that what we're trying to look for is acceptance as a community and as people, and I don't see that in that party, no offence, and I respectfully
Okay,
disagree.
so for instance, today, we're going to no doubt get to this because it was only announced, but today John Pesutto, who's the Victorian Liberal leader, declared that he will vote no. He's giving a free vote to his party room, to be clear, but he will vote no in the referendum. What impact does that have on you?
Well, it's interesting you say that, because I'm here as a young, independent Aboriginal male, 2023 Victorian Young Australian of the Year, and I will not sit there and tell people how to vote. And I'll talk more to this, obviously, if we get another question, but his right to vote, it's our democracy. That's what we live in. People have a right to vote no, they have a right to vote yes, and they have a right to do a donkey vote. At the end of the day, that's their choice as an individual, and good on them for the choice that they're making. I won't be making the same, but it's also, this is the democracy we live in, and everyone has a right to vote whatever way they do with an evidence base that they have.
But do those sorts of issues impact the way you think of political parties?
Look, I definitely, personally, would say yes. I would, but again, that's around that personal opinion in relation to other people's opinions. Like, I might think less of the individual, doesn't mean I think less of the whole party, for example. So it just depends on the personal factors.
And if I could just jump in there, there's such a range of views even within the Liberal Party. Like, Mark Speakman, the New South Wales leader, is voting yes, John Pesutto is voting no. Julian Leeser resigned from the shadow cabinet because he was so committed to the yes vote. That is massive. And so I think you're exactly right in your approach to this, and I think that's 100% correct. There's a range of views, and we should respect all those views and have a really mature discussion, which we're definitely having, which is awesome.
Yeah. On the substantive question that was originally given in relation to young people and voting for the Liberal Party, how do you see it? Look. Tell me what you really think.
No, I think when it comes to young people, and just going back to the original question, and the decrease in our support for the Liberal Party, You know, I think that comes down to exactly what you were sharing. Like, it comes down to policy and people. And when you don't see those policy changes reflecting the geographic of the people that potentially will be voting you in, that's when you start to see those problems arise. And I'll just respond to what you were sharing about mental health and suicide being, you know, the leading death in young people. That's spot on. And when it comes to First Nations people, the rates are even higher when we look at the disproportionate impact. And I think we need to have a really serious reflection as a nation about what are we doing to address our young people when suicide is almost eliminating our young people.
Correct, yep.
That's a pretty sad place to be. And I think whether you're Liberal, whether you're Labor, whether you're the Greens, as a collective, we need to reflect on how we respond to that. I won't speak too much to the critical reasons why I feel maybe there's not so much support for Liberal, but I think when your constant political discourse is around racism, derogatory, you're not really going to get a lot of support. I think so.